Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 21 of the new Build Your Stash and Craft. Today we are going to make our own DIY rice paper. And what rice paper is, this is a piece of rice paper that I had for the journaling series. And so it looks like tissue paper, but when you turn it over, on the back side, you can see that it has fibers in it. And the thing about rice paper is it's much stronger than tissue paper. And when you rip it, it kind of gets these little hairs. And sometimes it's hard to rip wherever the strings are. But I don't know if you can see the little hairs there on the edge of the paper. And so it's basically like a tissue paper, but it's stronger and it has a little bit more interest to it. The little fuzzies on the edge are really quite cute. That's part of what I really like about it. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do this, but I've got one already started that has been drying for about an hour. And so what you're going to do, and I'm going to show you how we got to this point in a second, but I wanted to show you this because you need to let it dry for a little bit. Like I said, this one's been drying about an hour. And then once it's been drying for about an hour, you want to just kind of get a hold of it somewhere because you want air to be able to get through there and you don't want it to glue. This is parchment paper. It should not completely glue down, but I went all the way over the edges. So basically what I have here is a layer of glue that's holding it down. And so I need to get a hold of the corner here. And maybe I should have done that before we started, but if I had done that, then you wouldn't have known. It's a little bit fiddly to get a hold of that corner. So I don't know if I got it or not. No. Okay, so maybe this side. There we go. Maybe. Ooh. Okay, so my last one I let dry for about a half an hour. And I did not have this much of a problem with it. So, but also what I'm trying to do is get a hold of tissue paper that's a little bit bigger than our dryer sheet, because remember we saved our dryer sheets, and that's what's going to turn it into rice paper. Well, okay, I'm not sad that this happened because it's good that it happened, and then you can see it because I've never had it happen before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right up on the parchment paper, right up next to the dryer sheet. And I'm going to try and get a hold of the back parchment paper. There it is. There we go. So now I've got a hole between the two. And so now what I'm going to do is I am going to just try and, I was going to put my finger in there, but maybe it'd be better to put something a little bit smaller between the parchment paper and the dryer sheet, and then just go in. It's just really not wanting to cooperate. So, all right, so now I've got my scissors between the parchment paper and the dryer sheet, and I'm just kind of coming along the edge here and just cutting the tissue paper that's hanging over the dryer sheet. And so maybe the parchment's not as non-sticky as it used to be. You know, a lot of things have kind of changed with, like supply problems and that type of thing, because I've never had this happen before. But it's good for you to see that it could happen. Now, like I said, the last time I only waited about a half an hour. This outside wasn't completely dry like it is now. This outside edge is completely dry. The rest of it's not, but the part that's stuck to the parchment paper is completely dry. And so that, I think, is part of the reason that I can't get it off because where it's still wet, it's coming off just fine. See, it's lifting up just fine where it's wet. So thinking that that's part of my problem. So that gives you something to kind of remember. Don't let it stay too long. And there we go. Yeah. Yep. I think that that really is more of my problem than the parchment itself, is the fact that I let it stay there for too long. Okay. So I've got a piece of parchment there. I'll get that off. All right. Okay. So now this is what the back looks like because I did put fibers in here. And what I'm going to do is, because the top is kind of dry, it's not dry, but it's not as wet as the bottom, I'm going to take another piece of parchment. Let's get this one out of the way. I'm going to take another piece of parchment, and I'm going to set this bottom side up, just like that. Now, I'll flip that in a little while, and I'll just kind of keep flipping it and make sure that it doesn't stick completely to the parchment paper. And like I said, I wonder if this parchment paper has a right side or wrong side. It feels like it's the same on both sides. So I'm going to set it aside. And I have already made one to show you, and so that we can play with it a little bit when we get to the end. But so this one, see how strong this is? And so what you're going to do is, the edge of the dryer sheet is right here. They've got this little bit of tissue paper hanging over. And so if you'll see like how easy it is to just rip that tissue paper, you know, because it's tissue paper. But then when you go in to rip this, it really hangs on and it doesn't rip as easily. And that's what we're going for. We want it to be a little more solid or sturdy, or however you want. Stronger maybe is the way you would say it. So I'm going to cut off the tissue paper so that it's just as big as my dryer sheet. And that way I know that what I've got here is all going to be that strong. And then I can make up a few of these. You can do as many as you want when you want. I usually do, you know, like 5 or 6 or so at a time, so that I have them to set aside to use when I need them, because there is drying time involved, especially since we really kind of saturate them. So, but this one we're going to play with in a little bit, but that's what it looks like when it's done. This one I did not put fibers in, so you can go either way. And what I thought we might try this time, because we got the tissue paper, and so out of this one, you know, good sized sheet of tissue paper, I've only used this little bit right here. And I've done that now on the orange and on the turquoise. But I thought, you know, they come with solids, and I've never done anything with the solids before. Not for the rice paper. And there was, let's see, so there's 8 sheets. I believe that there's 2 of each. So there's 2 solids of each color and 2 of the designs. So I'm going to get another piece of parchment. And we're going to make one with just with a plain color. So, but I love, and when you do this, you want to get something where, now this is not quite as wide to the fold as my dryer sheet, but this one pretty much is, so I'm going to cut this side instead. Or maybe I'll cut it just a touch bigger. I don't even know what I was just saying. Oh, you know, this is why you want to like have something with a pretty design that you like. I think that's what I was saying. You know, because you're making it into your own rice paper. So there we go. Now we've got a little piece off this. So we could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could get 6 pieces of rice paper out of each sheet of tissue paper, and there's 8 sheets. So, you know, it's a really good amount of rice paper for ourselves, and we can make them. They're only this big, but you know, very rarely do you use huge amounts of something. A lot of times you cut it down into smaller pieces. So having a bunch of smaller pieces that are all different is actually better than having one great big piece that's all the same. So let's, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our water glue, and water glue is 2 parts glue, Elmer's glue, PVA glue, white glue, whatever you want to call it, kids' school glue. Not like tacky glue. You know, it's just a thinner regular glue. It's 2 parts glue to 1 part water, and basically I use it in place of Mod Podge. Now we are going to get this wet. We are going to make sure we get the glue everywhere, even though we glued it, I glued it to the parchment paper. If it glues to the parchment paper, I'll just do it the same way that I just did it, because you definitely want to make sure that it's really stuck good together, because it does have those fibers in it, and when you go to rip it apart or that type of thing, you want to make sure that the 2 pieces stay together. So we're going to just cover it really well with the water glue, and then we're going to put some fibers on here. And you can use anything for fibers. I'm going to use our color dyed string, and you can use threads. You know, when you cut strips of your fabric, and you know, then you, like when you tear fabric, and then you have all the strings on the edge that you pull them off, and just kind of, like I set them aside and just kind of nest them together. But you can take those strings and put them in here. You can take a die cut paper and put it in here. You could take a thin lace. I wouldn't do a thick lace. You could do a thin, you know, just a thin lace and put it in there. You can sandwich anything in here that you want to, that is flat and that will glue with glue, with regular glue. Like acetate wouldn't work very well because this kind of glue doesn't stick to acetate. So then I decided that with this color, I had orange. We have our orange. I don't know what I did with the orange. Here it is. But I thought that the orange was a little too yellowish orange to go with the peach, because this is peach. So I am going to use the red instead of that orange, just because of the yellowness in it. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of this, and I'm going to cut it at the top up here, but I'm just going to cut some little pieces. They're not all the same length, maybe 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, maybe even an inch, but I'm just randomly cutting them, and you don't need a whole ton because I don't want it this thick. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to untwist it, and then I'm just going to kind of take it apart and put it on here. And these are probably just a little over 1/2 inch, and I got a few there that are, and now this one I'm just going to kind of maybe like fan it out and put it all down in one spot. This one's less than 1/2 inch, I think. I'm just going to just drop them around. You don't have to drop them around perfect because we are going to put glue on top of them, and so they're going to move a little bit anyways when we do that. But the reason that we're going to put glue on top of them to me is very important, and that's if you're going to put lace in here, die cuts, whatever you're going to put in here, that is very wet with glue. So when we put these on here, now on the bottom of these, there's going to be glue. But on the top of the thread or the die cut or the lace or anything like that, where you're then going to lay your tissue paper on the top of that, there's no glue. And the glue may soak through the tissue paper enough to really grab it, but if it doesn't soak through the tissue paper and, you know, really grab a hold of it, then when you go to cut it or tear it apart, they'll only be glued to the dryer sheet. They won't be glued to the tissue paper, and you may have like a spot where your paper wants to gap or where the string just wants to come out. So it's just better, and, you know, especially the larger anything that you put in there, to me, the more important it would be. But I'm just gonna take my glue and just put it on there. Now see, that one was kind of separated and then I just rolled it back together. So maybe I want it separated, so I'll just go back in and separate it. But it's already wet. You know, and I've already got the glue on it, so I don't have to put the glue on it again. But I'm just going to touch each one of them and make sure that they have got glue on the top side so that when I lay the paper on top, the glue gets on the paper also. And like I said, when you do this, they're going to move. So don't lay them out perfectly how you just love it, because they're going to move. Or otherwise, just, you know, be aware that they're going to move and be super careful when you do it. And maybe you can do it without making them move. To me, I'm always in too much of a hurry, so. But there we go. I think I missed this one, and I think that I got them all. Okay, so then we're going to take our tissue paper, which I usually do make just a little bit bigger than my dryer sheet. This is folded over. I should not have cut it that close to the fold, but we'll get it unfolded. There we go. I just like to make sure it's a little bit bigger than the dryer sheet. That way it doesn't take a really super, oh, I forgot something. Okay, hold on. See if we can do this, because there was one more thing I wanted to try. So off you go. And I wanted to try and put a little bit of our color burst on here. Alrighty. I probably have so much on there, it's not funny. Find out. So I don't think that I want to, that glue's pretty wet, and I don't really think I want to, I don't want to spray it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this on top and we're going to see what happens with it. Because I just thought that that might be something that might be fun. And it would be something that also then would make our tissue paper, our plain tissue paper with the strings and the color burst in there, it would make it look different. Not so plain. But then you could stamp on this if you want to. You know, you can draw on it, color on it. You can do whatever you want when it's dry. This mixture of glue and water dries really nicely, but it does not dry sticky, which is the one reason that I tend to, whenever I use Mod Podge, to me, it always seems to dry really sticky. And so that is why well, also, really, the reason that I went to using the water glue was because it was cheaper, a lot cheaper, and, you know, I'm a cheapskate, so, but it just, to me, it works better, and that's all by choice. There's nothing wrong with Mod Podge at all. So, alrighty, so now I'm going to set this aside for about a half an hour, and then I will flip it. Now, the half an hour is probably not going to pass by the time we're done. Maybe we'll just do it anyways, even if it's not quite a half an hour. Now, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to peel it off of here. And I'm going to flip it over. I don't want to get it on that glue. And put it on the other half of this parchment. And I'm not going to press it down or anything. I'm just going to lightly lay it on there. And then when they get dry, completely dry, I stick them in parchment and stick them in a heavy book, and that makes them nice and flat. So I'm going to set this one aside, and we're going to just make a little cluster with this one. So let's see, remember how I was telling you how they tear really cool with the little fuzzies? And so I'm going to tear it because I really like those fuzzies. And I thought maybe I'd kind of make it a little bit, let me see, I'm gonna make it a little bigger than I want. I kind of thought that I would make it round. But see how it's tearing? See those fuzzies there? I mean, to me, that's just the most awesome thing. And it's the dryer sheet that's doing it. I mean, it's nothing spectacular, but, you know, when you get it torn, it really is. Let's see if... Can you see those fuzzies? I mean, they're just really awesome. And it's really the only thing. And, you know, like, if you tear it this way, it doesn't get as fuzzy as if you pull it apart, tear it like this. It gets fuzzier if you do it like that. So, and I'm going to continue trying to make this a little bit round because I kind of wanted a round, or at least just round edges. I really don't like the square edges. And just get it to where it's pleasing to my eye. You know, just, there is no right or wrong. It's what makes you happy. It's what you enjoy looking at. And so if you look at something, I just don't, you know, there's something off about that. Just keep messing with it until all of a sudden there's nothing off about it anymore. So there we go. We've got that really cool fuzzy edge. And then, and keep these because you, look at all those fuzzies on there. Isn't that awesome? Keep those because you can use those on snippets or something like that. So I thought maybe we would put a button on it. And, oh, I wanted to show you something too. On the week 18, I think it was. Let me look here. Yeah, week 18, when we did the weaving, I said, go ahead and get a couple things of ribbon and some lace. Well, this is what I bought. So just so if I use these later on down the line, you say, well, where did you get those? I did these. This is what I bought in week 18 at the Dollar Tree. I got these little sparklies because I thought they were cool. And I got these ribbons. And I never used them then because I just used all our other fibers. I was so excited about doing it. I forgot I even bought these for that. Then a couple weeks later, I was looking, it was like, I remember that we bought those, but what did we buy them for? I never used them. So that's what it was for. This was what I bought on week 18 when I bought said buy some ribbons and lace. They really did. They only had the one same kind of lace that I always buy. And then I saw these and I thought they were pretty. So that's what I bought in place of my lace. But, okay. And they might be a little too bright for that. Okay. So I thought that then I would take, and I really thought I was going to use orange, but I think I'm going to use a little of this red because it just, to me, the peach color does not go as well with that yellowish color. I don't need a whole lot. That's probably, I'm going to probably have about 6 inches here. Really don't even need that much. And because it's so heavy and this is so light and fluffy, I don't want to use it all together like that as one solid heavy piece. So I'm going to just kind of unwind it and just open it up and then kind of just decide what I want to do to put it on there, because I think I just want like some messy string and a button and maybe a little piece of fabric or lace. I really wanted a little piece of lace, but I'm not sure if I have a piece of lace out here. But so you want something that's kind of, you know, you see people put fluffy or messy stuff behind their things and you're like, I don't have that. Just think about, well, like, how can you make it? Because there we go. This is what I wanted, was just messy. And I don't want those ends sticking out there. I don't like the way that that looked. So, oh, I know. I'm going to kind of roll them around my hand, starting at different lengths. I'm going to start with one, and then the next one starts here so that they're not all just like even. And then do another one, wrap it around, kind of push down those ends. Just kind of want to catch those ends to push them in a little bit. And so we just unwound it, and I'm winding it back up again, but in a totally different way. So let's see how this looks then, if we kind of... Yeah, that's the kind of messy I was looking for. And then you play with it. Just play with it and make it, you know, kind of go the way that you want it to go. I don't want those ends sticking out, so I'm going to try and tuck them in somewhere. And maybe I don't want it quite that big, because I really don't want it all the way to the edge of my rice paper. I want it a little more inside. Just kind of pull that in a bit. Like that, except for those ends, and I don't like them, but I'm just going to cut them off. There's no rule that says I have to leave them there. And since I liked the way the rest of it was looking, I didn't want to try and tuck them in. Yeah, I like that right there. And then I want a little messy bit right there. So I'm just going to kind of twist this one up. There we go. I still have a piece left, but I don't need it because that's heavy enough. So I'm going to trim off this one. There. Okay, so I like that so far. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit of tacky glue. I'm going to kind of tip this off like this to kind of hopefully get it to stay. Oh, are you stuck? I don't know if it's stuck or if it's just not to the bottom. I had it upside down. It's stuck. All right, do I have a needle here? That's not, maybe it will work. I have a crooked straight pin. That's funny. I'm going to straighten it back out now that I got it pushed in there. Don't poke yourself. Okay, now let's see if it'll come out. It doesn't want to, so I'm going to carefully set this here because I really like the way that looks. And I'm going to take the top off. It can't beat me. I'm going to put it in the middle. Trying not to get too close to the edge. I want it to stick, but I want the edges to be kind of fluffy. I'm going to take this. Here we go. Alrighty, so there we go. Now that's got my little threads on there. Now I have some of my smaller bits here from our swing section, but I don't know. I do want a button. Oh, here's a little bit of lace. Oh, it's green. Wonder. We'll see. More strings, some bows. What do you think? I'm terrible with colors. Really, really terrible with colors. That one probably would be better. I think maybe we will put a bow on it. What about that one? That's way too big. Way too heavy. Okay. No, that green is the only lace I have here. And, I mean, it might work. That would give us a little contrast of color. Just put a couple pieces on there like that. And then a button. Oh, that's too big. Oh, this is a really cool button. You see that? Little flower in the middle. Oh, this is a pretty color. I kind of like that one, but it's a little bit small. If I did the green lace, can I do green button? Oh, there's a tan button. Oh, it's tan and black. No, I don't like that at all. Now, see, I could have painted a button. You can paint your buttons. You don't have to leave them the color they are. But I didn't bring out any paint, so. I think I really, really like this little red one. It's really small. What if... What if I did a little cluster, I'm thinking. That one's too dark. That looks kind of cute. It almost looks like a little bird's nest. I like that. I wonder if there's a little green one. Don't like the blue. The tan goes okay. Alrighty. Okay, so I think that I like this dark green. It's hard for you to see, I'm sure. So we've got, this one is a matte, and then this one is shiny. But I think that I like that one better. So hopefully y'all pick that one too. So I think I'm going to do it like that. And I think that that looks good. So we can shove those out of the way, and let's see here. I do have my needle kit. So instead of gluing them on, I think I'm going to sew them, and I'm going to sew them with white. If I can find the end of it. So here's the thing, when you first try and get, there it is right there, I can see because they put it on an angle and it's sticking up the top. There. Alrighty. So, and you can do that whichever way you want. If you want to glue them, glue them. I'm not so sure how well the tacky glue would hold a button because the button is a non-porous surface. Excuse me. So sewing it would be better, but you know, you do with what you have. So if you don't have a needle and thread, you glue it. I kind of wanted just a plain tan lace. But then, and I didn't have it, but I really like that green on there. I think that it looks really pretty. And so, had I had the tan lace here, I probably would have used it. I'm going to put X's in the middle of my buttons, because that's how I like to do a 4-hole button. But yeah, if I had that cream lace here, I would have used it, and I never would have even thought to try the green on there. And the reason I didn't glue the green down is because I know that these 3 buttons are going to be sewn in spaces that will hold those down. Yeah, this one is just 2-holer. Sorry, that just reminds me of when I was younger. And not when I was younger, but when I was younger, what, you know, Papa used to talk about his grandparents' house and stuff. And he talked about whether you had a 1-holer or a 2-holer. His grandparents had a 2-holer. And if you're not old enough, think about what you didn't have in the house. Can't find this. Way back 90 years ago. But I'm sure you probably heard it on TV. Alrighty. We'll just get this last one in here. And then, then we'll see what it looks like with that bow at the bottom. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to like that or not, but we'll see. And I already have plans for this. We're going to use it next weekend, or next week, on the project that we do next week. Wrong one. There we go. Alrighty. That's it. So there we go. Got all those fuzzies sticking out around the edge. The buttons are cute. It does kind of look like a little bird's nest. I like that. And, you know, this is heavy enough. If you tried to sew through tissue paper, it would not hold. You know, this is heavy enough that it's going to hold. You know, it did. It held my sewing. It didn't rip. And so that's just the nice thing about this. Whether you put the fibers in it or not, that's totally your choice. You know, you can paint it, you can do whatever you wish because it's yours. So let me put this button back in the little packet. I tend to, needle. I always tend to set them around places and then it's like, I don't know what I did with my needle. Which is quite the scary thing because then you don't want to sit down. I can remember I probably said this before, but when I was little, my dad was always the one that found my mom's pins in the carpet. It was like, never fails. If there was a pin in the carpet, he would step on it. Alrighty, so we've got that. And then, do we want to put that on there? I think I kind of like it that way. Okay, so let me know what you think. With the bow or without the bow? We're going to use it next week. And so tell me whether you like it like that or like that. Because I really can't decide. But even though you don't know what we're going to do with it next week, just tell me just in general, do you like it like that? With the bow or without the bow? And then I'll have those comments before next week. And then if you guys like the bow, I will put the bow on there. Otherwise, I'll leave it off. Ooh, I need to put my paintbrush in some water. Make sure that you seal your water glue really tight. And what I do with it to help it stay well is I give it a shake upside down and leave it. Because then the glue gets up around the rim and it dries there. So when you go to peel it off, you've got this string of glue that comes off. But it also, I think, helps seal it so that the air doesn't get in and make your glue get hard. So because I've had this glue, and this is, I don't know what kind of container with a cottage cheese top. The cottage cheese type is really quite tight on here. And I've always done that. And I've had the glue in here, literally, it has lasted a year. I'm not kidding. Now, this one was getting a little bit thick, although I had to make a little more. It was getting a little bit thick when I took the top off. It wasn't dried or anything like that, but it was a little bit thick. So I think that this top doesn't fit quite as solid as this one does. But I've always done that, tipped it upside down and then tipped it back over. So that's what we've got for this week. Our own handmade, I'm going to set that over there for now. Our own handmade paper. And let's see how this is still pretty wet, but we're going to peel that off. And if you have a blow dryer, you can dry them with your blow dryer. See, it's much wetter on the bottom than it is on the top. So that's why I am going to flip it over to give that bottom a chance to dry. Oh, I should have just put it on the other one, on the other piece of parchment. But there we go. That's the bottom side. And I will show you both of those next week when I come back. And if I don't remember, remind me. But I used to like stop my video and then piece them together. But my internet is so bad now that if I just upload right from my phone using my cell service because it takes about 4 hours. If I do it from my computer using the internet, it takes anywhere up to 24 hours or 36 hours. Definitely like 16 to 18. So there we go. That's what we got for today. And for next week, we are going to need window envelopes. So, and hopefully what I want to do works. So, but just window envelopes, I set them aside when I get them. And if you don't have any, I figured I'd let you know now. So that gives you a week to try and get a hold of one or two. It doesn't matter what they look like. They can have one, they can have two, they can have a big one. Just a window, regular size envelope would be good. So that's what we need for next week. And we are going to get some black acrylic paint because we don't have any black paint yet. We are going to get this little precision screwdriver set. This came from the Dollar Tree. So there's two things. We are going to get some poster paint. This one's got glitter. You can get it with or without glitter. You can get, however you want to get it. And we are going to get a square because this is a metal square. So it works really nice to cut things with your X-Acto knife. It works much better to have a metal square to run your blade along so that you're not chipping up your rulers. And then we are going to, because we have right now, let's see, we just did the rice paper. In the bank right now, we have $54. So for next week, we are spending $5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives us another $2.50 to put in our bank. So that leaves us with $56.50. And then we're going to spend $20. And we're going to buy a trimmer. You can buy whatever trimmer you like. I prefer guillotines, but when I look guillotines up online, they're very expensive. And so that would be something that if I was just starting out, I would just keep my eyes open. Actually, I have 2 guillotines, and both of them I got at the same time, actually from the same lady. And I bought them on Craigslist. So, you know, I just checked, like, you know, used crafts or whatever, and I got them very reasonable. So, you know, just keep your eyes open and just be patient. So, because if you're patient, those things will come to you. You know, if it's something that you really, really want, then just start looking on D-stashes or Craigslist or Facebook, garage sales, secondhand stores, all of that type of thing, to find whatever it is that you're looking for. So, and if there's something you really want and you can't afford it, but you really want it, let me know what it is, and I'll see if it's something that we can make, whether it's a product or a tool or whatever. But I picked up this Westcott trimmer. It looks like it's a nice trimmer, and it's a 12-inch trimmer. I do have to say that the 12-inch trimmers for your first trimmer are better than getting a small one, because if you want to cut anything, 8.5 by 11 will not fit in an 8-inch trimmer, you know, except for sideways. So this is what I got. It was $18. So we're going to set aside $20 for a cutter, and everybody can get a cutter. And so that leaves us with $36.50 in our bank. So that's what we're going to need for next week. I hope that you enjoyed this week's project. I really do like making the rice paper. I like having it. I think it's a very cool thing to have. So thanks again for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you get a chance, watch a commercial now and then. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.